Alright, let's do this. Number 1, what is the length of the base of a parallelogram? 15 units, very good. Great job putting units on there. Number 2, what is the height of a parallelogram?
11.
Awesome. 3, the area of the parallelogram?
165 units squared.
Very good. Area is base times height, so 15 times 11. And number 4, what formula is needed in order to calculate the perimeter? Distance formula or Pythagorean theorem. Very good. So distance formula or Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so distance formula or Pythagorean theorem would help us find these slanted sides. Okay, so with that in mind, let's look at number 1. Use the parallelogram below to answer the questions. Find the perimeter and find the area. Okay, perimeter. I know that my bases are how many units? 3. Okay, now you need to find my slanted sides. I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem. You can use whatever you would like. So I know I need to solve for the hypotenuse of a right triangle with legs of 5 and 3. So I have 5 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. 25 plus 9 equals c squared. What is the length of this side to the nearest hundredth?
5.83.
5.83? So I know these sides are 5.83. Okay, so to find perimeter, what do I need to do? Add up all your sides. So P equals 3 plus 3 plus 5.83 plus 5.83. So what is our perimeter? 17.66 units. Don't forget your units. Okay, if area is what? How do we find area? Base times height. What is my base? 3. What is my height? How do you know it's 5? What does your height have to be to your base? Perpendicular. Very good. So 5. And so what is the area of this parallelogram? 15 what? Units squared. Okay, so that's a really important thing to remember. Your height has to be perpendicular to the base. Okay? Our height in this case is not 5.83. It is 5. Questions on the first page? Awesome. Okay, on page 2, we are graphing our own parallelogram. So take a minute and plot those points. What's the difference between this parallelogram and the last one that we drew? Yes. Very good. So neither your bases or your slanted sides, okay, are horizontal or vertical. In other words, we're going to have to calculate both of them using distance formula or Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so there's no easy sides or easy bases. Okay, so you're going to have to do Pythagorean theorem twice. Okay, or distance formula twice, whatever you choose to do. So in order to get A, B, and C, D, you'll do Pythagorean theorem here. And then you need to get your other side as well. Okay, so you have a skinny right triangle, and then you have a much larger one. Okay, I have my skinny triangle. What are my leg lengths? 1 and 7, and that's our unknown. And of my bigger triangle, right triangle, what are my leg lengths? 8 and 6. Okay, so take a minute and solve for both of those unknowns. The square root of 50 is approximately what? 7.07. 7.07. And what did you guys get as your other side length? 10. Very good. Okay, so to find our perimeter, add them all up. So we have 10 plus 10 plus 7.07. So what is our perimeter? 34.14. Very good. Okay, we've talked about this already today. What is the relationship between the base and the height of a parallelogram? Perpendicular. They are perpendicular. Okay, so the base is perpendicular to the height, or vice versa. Okay, letter C asks, if CD is the base of the parallelogram, how can we find the height of the parallelogram? Any ideas? How can we find the height of the parallelogram if CD is the base? The height has to be what? Perpendicular. How do we find something that's perpendicular?
It's the opposite reciprocal.
Very good. So you're going to have to figure out the opposite reciprocal and then plot your height. Okay, so for letter C, let's first write how I can find the height of the parallelogram by finding the line perpendicular to CD. Okay, if I'm going to find the line that's perpendicular to CD and find that height, what is it going to need to go through?
The line.
So if I need a point or something that's perpendicular here, what other point is it going to go through? A. So we're going to use A in our opposite reciprocals. Okay. So determine the height of the parallelogram. What is the slope of CD? What'd you say? Negative 4/3. So if you plot your points, you're going down 4 over 3. Down 4 over 3. So negative 4/3. So what would the perpendicular slope be? 3/4. Okay, so I need to go through A. Okay, and I need a slope that is 3/4. Okay, so let's figure out the equation of that line. So the point A is at 1, 1, and my slope is 3/4. Okay, so if I plug that into y equals mx plus b, y is 1, my slope is 3/4, x is 1, plus b. I need to subtract 3/4 from both sides. What happens when I subtract 3/4 from 1?
1/4.
Just 1/4. Okay, so my equation of my line is y equals 3/4 x plus 1/4. Okay, so that would be the equation of that line. That would represent my height. Okay, so that was just a review. On this particular problem, you wouldn't have to do that because you can, like I said, just start at A. And if I know that my height, or my slope going through A is going to be 3/4, just plot your line starting with point A. So up 3 over 4. Up 3 over 4. Okay, so this line is perpendicular to my base. And so now, to calculate the height, what do? Pythagorean theorem or the distance formula. So I'm looking at this little right triangle right here, so that I can find the height. What are my leg units?
4 and 3.
4 and 3, so what does that make my height?
5 units.
5 units, because the Pythagorean triple. If you didn't know it, you could write it all out. Okay, so my height is 5 units. So what is the area of this parallelogram? Very good. 50 units squared. So the base 10 times your height 5. Alright, letter E, we're going to list everything basically that we just did. So in the event that you have to do this again, you'll know what to do. So number 1, what do we do first?
Found the bases.
Found the length of the base. Very good. Okay, what do we do after that?
Find the height.
Not yet.
We found the sides using the distance or Pythagorean theorem.
Okay, we don't even need the sides right now because we're just trying to calculate the height.
Oh.
So what did we do after we had the base? Before the opposite reciprocal, you had to find the what? The slope. So we found the slope. Then what? Aiden. Very good. So plot the opposite reciprocal. From vertex, which was A, to a point on the base. This is the height. Okay, then what do we do? Pythagorean theorem or distance formula, whatever you want to use, but we found the height. if I asked you to take it a step further and find area, what would you do? Well, very good. Base times height. Okay, so the big idea here is making sure that we remember that a height has to be perpendicular to the base, and the way that we guarantee it's perpendicular is taking the opposite reciprocal slope. Opposite reciprocal slope. Questions on page 2? Okay. Alright, number 3. Graph the following lines on the coordinate plane. So take a minute and graph all these lines. Make sure you make your lines crisp. So use a straight edge, otherwise you're not going to get the same picture that I'm going to get up here. So take a minute and graph your lines. Start at your y-intercept and then use your slope. Give you 30 more seconds. Alright, it says to label your points of intersection A, B, C, D, so I'm just going to go clockwise. Where is A at?
-4, 1.
-4, 1. Where is B?
0, 3.
0, 3. C?
2, -1.
2, -1. and D.
-2, -3.
-2, -3. Okay, now it wants you to find the length of each side of the quadrilateral, okay? So you can use distance formula or you can use Pythagorean theorem, whichever one you decide. We need to find the length of each side. So I'm going to draw right triangles everywhere. Those of you that have started, what do you notice about all your right triangles?
They're all equal.
They're all equal. What are your leg lengths?
4.47.
2 and 4. Very good.
My bad.
Okay, what would the perimeter be? 17.889, so you could write 4 radical 20 if you wanted to, which is about 17.89 units. Okay, what is the height? First off, what shape do we have? A square, so what is our height? The same thing, so square root of 20, which is about what? 4 point what? 47. Okay, how do we find the area? Base times height, so you have square root of 20 times the square root of 20, which is what? What is it? 20. Okay, because the square root of 20 squared gets rid of the squared and the squared root. So it's always just the number that's underneath the radical. Okay, so 20 units squared. Alright, notice that, okay, when you plotted your original lines, what do you notice about the slopes? They're opposite reciprocals. So these lines were already perpendicular. Okay, that is something that you've got to be able to identify. Whether you have a rectangle, whether you have a square, whatever, make sure you're not making more work on yourself. If the lines are already perpendicular, then you don't need to go calculate the height. You're doing work that's already done for you. Okay, so make sure you look at the equations that you're given, look at their slopes, and then go from there. Okay, because a lot of times you're going to be given 4 sets of lines that are already perpendicular to each other. Okay, questions on that? Alright, turn the page. Okay, if we're given 3 equations, what kind of shape do you think we're going to have?
Triangle.
A triangle, very good. Okay, so you guys are going to do this one on your own. Okay, once you finish this, come get it checked by me, and then I will give you your homework. Okay, it's the same idea except for you're using a triangle instead of a parallelogram. Go!